All right, good. It looks like we're recording. Well, good morning. Welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the second day of August in 2015. It's a Thursday. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and hopefully this will work here. I tried this once before, but it kind of froze up on me. I discovered that apparently I'm storing too much on my Mac. Oh goodness, it looks like there's somebody up at the top of the driveway, but I don't think it's for here. We have an 800-foot driveway off our property, so kind of have to look sometimes to see what's going on up there. But in any event, we'll do this again and see if we can actually finish something without it freezing on me. Last night I was out on the back deck in the middle of the night braiding onions. That was fun. And then I also did some tomato sauce yesterday. I canned some tomato sauce, just 4 quarts. So the tomatoes are starting. They're Big Mom aromas, and if you like sauce tomatoes, I really recommend them. I mean, they have seed in them, but not a whole lot. And it's mostly, they're real meaty, so they're really, really great for pasta sauce and salsas and things. But I decided this time not to actually make those things. I just wanted to make plain old, canned tomatoes. And that way I can do whatever I want to with it instead of being locked in. So I could make chili and anything with it if I don't commit to one thing or another with seasoning. So I just put some pink salt in it and some citric acid, and there we went. I got 4 quarts, so that was cool. I'll get a whole lot more before the season's done, but they're starting to come in early. We got them in early, so that was nice. You never know around here with the frost. We can frost clear back to the, or as far out as the end of May. So some of our stuff got bit this year, but that's okay. Everything's doing really, really well now, and things are starting to be ready to be picked, and it won't be long, and the corn will be ready, and that'll be cool. And then the beans will be coming in. They're starting already. But we really, really like to garden. Anymore, you don't know what you're buying at the stores. You don't know all the glyphosate that's used on the crops now. I mean, it's, we eat gluten-free, but it's likely not the gluten that's the problem. It's likely it's the glyphosate that they find within it that makes everybody ill. But that's just my opinion. So let's count 13 and see what we've got. Oh. And we have the Lover's card, which is the 6th card of the Major Arcana. We see the angel above, looking down upon the couple. Now, the Lovers can indicate marriage. That's the most obvious one. But basically what the Lovers is doing is it's talking about the polarity within. Oh, here comes the wind. I'll have to hang on to stuff here. Otherwise it's going to blow away. Basically, we're talking about the polarity within, the balancing the masculine and feminine principle within. But it can also mean not just the integration of inner polarity, but it can also mean how you see yourself in others, or how yourself is expressed in others. all we are is the Creator personified. So we've done it in a way that's created duality, haven't we? But it isn't just duality on the horizontal plane or the material plane, which would be the duality within, the polarity within of masculine and feminine. But I see this also as the vertical, as above, so below aspect of spirit and form. So we're not just dealing with two kinds, we're dealing with four kinds, really. To see the entire picture, you can't just simply look at the projective and receptive influences within. You have to look at spirit versus form as well. So, I mean, you can look at that all as polarity, really. It just depends on which, direction, we're looking at. Are we looking horizontally in terms of material aspect of self, or are we looking vertically in terms of spirit and form? It can also be about surrender, unification of opposites. It can be about choice. But right now, we're seeing a toxic level of masculinity in our world. It's expressing itself in such a negative and hostile way that we can, see it, sure, it's a problem, right? But it's also the genesis of the solution if we look at it properly. If we decide, at some point, well, that's just not working for us, the whole notion of patriarchy, which is now turned into all kinds of, there's a leaf, toxic masculinity that we're coping with. And for some reason, it just seems like it's all just A-okay with some people, and the rest of us are all kind of looking on going, what? So I think that when we're dealing with this particular card, the sixth card, the number 6, it's the sacred layer of self, or the Holy Spirit layer, higher self. Basically, you're looking at a progression in terms of, excuse me, in terms of harmony between spirit and ego. In a sense, it's the inner aspect of self that's active at this point. And so that's why it's easy to think about this in terms of, relationships with others, but realistically, I think it's more about relationship with the self and how we balance those energies within us, how we integrate them in a way that's better than always having, you can have your Mars side just be too much, right? And so that's the aggressive, hostile side. And I think that's what we're seeing. Anytime you see us versus them, anytime you see just feeling like, we don't see the greater unified presence, and that's the whole goal, is to unify that. So both without and within. And so it brings us to Hagalaz, which is it would be the 9th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's known as the Witch rune. It's basically destruction within a fixed framework. And as a water rune, what it does is it creates change, but it doesn't leave destruction in its wake. So that tells us that if we are going to acknowledge the fact that our polarity is not in balance, the inner masculine versus feminine, and then perhaps our spirit is not informing, form either. So if all of that is out of balance, as it certainly seems to be right now, with an emphasis toward the toxic masculine over any kind of balance at all, compassion, care for other people, all that, that's not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is service to self. And that can go, either way. Either, if the feminine side is the receptive side is too much, then maybe you don't stand in your own power. So we need to have a balance between that, so that we stand up for things that we believe in, that we don't just simply, bend over and take it, basically. Um, and what Hagalaz is doing is it's telling us that it's time to make some changes here. That when all is said and done, the fixed framework may look a little different, but it's still going to support us. And when we do that, if we acknowledge that this imbalance, this lack of polarity, this willingness to oppress just isn't working for us anymore, then, when we see that, and let's face it, we're being given a lot of different opportunities to see all of that in play right now, aren't we? Whether you're talking about how we treat immigrants to this country, or how we're going to manage our health care, or, down to whether or not we're going to interfere with the vote, the outcome of a vote. We've got some real interesting things happening right now that seem to be all about an individual's needs over the greater good. And that comes from somewhere. That notion, that belief structure comes from somewhere. And where it comes from is this imbalance of polarity. Okay? And what Hagalaz is telling us is that it's time to let go of all of that and let it be replaced by something that is a better foundation. It's like when you have, two sides of a two sides. Say you've got, say one of your legs doesn't work. Let's put it that way. Okay? You're going to be hobbling all over the place, right? Or maybe you're going to be on crutches or something, or you'll be in a wheelchair. I fell in 2003, and when my RA was out of control, and so all of the immune system basically attacked my knee, and I tore the meniscus, the inner meniscus, and so now if I don't allow my leg to stretch a little bit before I start walking, I limp until I walk that out, and then I'm fine. But because of what happened to my knee, the back side of my leg it tightens up, it shortens up, and so even though the leg is actually the same length as the other, the tendons and the muscles pull it up so that it's not, and then that creates an imbalance in the way that I walk, at least initially, and then I walk it out and I'm fine. But it's just a physical expression of when things are not in balance. Things don't function right. Well, things aren't functioning right now. So what I think that we're but I really think that what is at the heart of all of it is not allowing spirit to inform the ego, and then not allowing that information to then help balance the masculine and feminine within. Okay? Or the projective and receptive influences and vibration within, and energy within. And then I think if you stop and think about how that's going to manifest, then I think you can see how it could be one explanation for what we're seeing now. And as much as we'd like to think that all of that is outside of all of us, it isn't. If everything is a projection of consciousness, then we're agreeing to all of this. Now, I know we don't like it, some of us probably do for some weird reason, but the point is that if we don't see that other side of things, if we don't experience it in a way that's, that we can no longer turn away from, then, here comes the wind, then the imbalance is going to continue. You can affect change in a variety of ways, but primarily it has to come from within. If we no longer believe this way, if we seek a better balance, if we look for spirit to inform, then the outcome collectively will be different. It will be harder to see the other. it will be much easier to see someone who is family when we're looking at other people. When that polarity is balanced within. But again, I don't think it's simply the masculine-feminine polarity that we all talk about. It isn't just about self. It's about self in relationship to others. And so with that, the polarity has to come on a vertical plane with spirit informing ego or the personality or whatever you want to call it. When we can get all of that in balance, then I think we're going to start to see things change, because the other will not find purchase. It won't find a place. The idea of separating babies and children from their parents at a border won't happen because it won't occur to us. And we would look back in horror and shame at the fact that it ever did. Medicating children without parents knowing. Really? You know, the kids in these facilities, some of them are being molested and raped. If that one thing, and the fact that the government can't seem to understand what they're doing, they were told the trauma that this would last, it would affect these children forever. Some of them don't even know their parents when they're reunited. They've forgotten. They've been so traumatized. This is all a reflection, whether you'd look at this or anything else that's going on. This is all a reflection of this lack of polarity within. So I think that, you know, we've been talking a lot about this, I think, with these readings, that it all comes down to remembering who we are, you know, as source energy. Just remembering that. And trying to see the world through that type of vision. Through something that's loving and compassionate. And to feel the love that creation is all about. The Creator didn't decide to do this experiment with all of us out of a sense of hate. No matter how you see that creative essence, no matter how you see whatever it was that expressed all of this into form, that we are an aspect of. Everything is an aspect of. It wasn't done so that it would cause problems. It was done to know more. And yeah, unfortunately, knowing more means we have to know about these other nasty things that are happening. And there's plenty of them that are. Things we don't, you know, the general public, they don't even know anything about. So, but I think that it starts with managing and balancing the polarity within and remembering who we are to begin with. So, so far this thing hasn't frozen, so I think we'll quit while we're ahead. So today, think about how you let Spirit inform the entire process, whether it's how you stand in your own power, whether it's, you know, whether or not you just sit back and you watch and observe and don't judge. You just see things as just stuff to look at and experience. Letting compassion and love inform you and inform the choices that you make. Seeing yourself in others. Seeing others as not someone that isn't an other, but as a brother or sister. As just an other aspect of self. Because that's all anyone really is. Even the ones you don't like the most are probably your greatest teachers. So think about that for today. and see how that resonates for you. And I'm almost done with the tarot reading for the month. I promise it will get out today. I really intended yesterday. I got about halfway done and I just stopped. So I had to go do onions. Everything just sort of converged. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I braided onions instead, so I'm sorry. But I will get that done today and get it uploaded onto the blog. So go over there to Stepping Aside at I'mSteppingAside.com. And it should be up by this evening. But I have to go do some watering now since I've been doing this all morning long, trying to figure out why my computer's not working. I had to delete some things to get room. So in any event, we'll see you tomorrow, and have a lovely day, and blessed be.